Hi friends, before we start this video, let's have a look at this table. You will see that likes of JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, they are paying up to £70,000 as an annual salary to freshers or entry-level analysts in investment banking in London in 2022. And just to put this in some context, even the IT, which is the highly paid sector, freshers or entry-level analysts are only getting paid up to £40,000 in London. And in India, you know that the salaries are only 4 to 5 lakhs at entry level. So investment banking sector is a very, very highly paid sector. And secondly, if you do really well in investment banking, you can decide the location that you want to work from. Whether you want to work from London, whether you want to work from Singapore, whether you want to work from New York, sky is the only limit, right? In this video, we are going to simplify investment banking with some practical examples, and I'm going to run you through 5 important points. Number 1, why such huge salaries in this sector? Number 2, what is that exactly investment banking folks do? Number 3, types of roles, very, very important. Number 4, degrees and skills that one needs so that you can explore that as an option. And finally, bonus tips, so stick around till the end. Let's go. Let's now have a look at the first factor, which is why huge salaries, okay? For that, I've written down some numbers here. Let's have a look at Goldman Sachs as an example and look at their revenues in 2021. So in 2021, Goldman Sachs did $60 billion as revenue. And if I compare it with the largest IT company in TCS, you will see that TCS clocked $25 billion in 2021 for revenue. So you see, Goldman Sachs has done almost double the revenues as compared to TCS. But have a look at the profits here. So the net profits perspective, Goldman Sachs did 30% of this was in profits, while for TCS, only 12.27% was in profits. There's a huge difference between how much of profit Goldman Sachs have earned with the same level of revenue versus IT company, which is again a highly paid sector. Yeah? Let's not forget that. Secondly, employees, number of employees, if you look at right now, when I'm recording this video, roughly 40,000 plus employees are there in Goldman Sachs globally. And in TCS, there are more than 5 lakhs employees, which means more than 10 times of number of employees exist in TCS as compared to Goldman Sachs. What does it tell us? It tells us that when it comes to investment banking, it is not a resource game. It's not about number of people, right? It's not about volume. What is it? It is about expertise, right? And I'm going to walk you through exactly what is that they do. But investment banking sector is a expertise driven sector. And that is where, because they are making huge profits, with less employee base, they are able to pay higher salaries. And I'll talk about the variable pay and incentives as well. This is one of the main reasons that investment bankers get highly paid. Let us move to point number 2 now. Let us now move to point number 2, which is what is exactly investment banks do, okay? So the first example I'm going to take is IPOs, right? Initial public offering. Recent example of LIC, all of us are aware, just got concluded in the month of May. Largest IPO in India, LIC. 20,000 crore worth of IPO was done, and it wouldn't have been possible without investment banks. Any IPO must have investment banks. So Indian government, for example, reached out to or shortlisted 10 investment banks, including Goldman Sachs, Citigroup, SBI Capital, and so on. And these banks were involved. You may have a question to me now that, Rahul, why 10 investment banks, why not just 1 or 2? Because every investment bank brings a lot of value to the table, such as they bring their clients, their investors, they do marketing, there are a range of activities. So let's have a look at quickly, what are the activities these investment banks do? How do they get the company listed on the stock exchange, right? Few of the key activities I've picked up. By no means it's an exhaustive list. So the first one is, for example, valuation. So in the case of LIC, LIC was valued at 6 trillion. Okay, 6 trillion rupees was the value for LIC that was calculated. The share prices, how much the company should, give the band. So 900 to 945, I think, was the price for LIC. Likewise, book building. They go ahead and talk about how much of shares will be allocated to retail investors like you and me, how much of the shares will be allocated to QIBs. So all of that is decided by investment banks. Number 4 is anchor investors. Very, very important. Even before the IPO is actually issued to public or in the market, anchor investors are guaranteed, they are committed, they get money invested already, because investment banks, they already have investors sitting there, maybe mutual funds, maybe retirement funds. All of these are already there and they commit to funding upfront. And lastly, marketing. The whole hype that gets created for an IPO is all done by investment banks because they want to make sure that the IPO is oversubscribed so that the client gets a lot of value, right? So this is one example of IPO. There is a lot of activities that go behind it. But let me now move to the second example of what do they actually do. The second key activity that investment banks do is that they help companies raise debt. Okay, so for example, Reliance, they issued a bond in global market for $4 billion US, the largest any Indian company have ever done, right? And then investment banks were involved to get investors from global market. Now you may have a question here, why did Reliance went to the global market, not from Indian market? We're talking about $4 billion US here. It is very unlikely to raise that much of money through Indian market. So they have to go and reach out to the global markets. And the second question you might have is that why global investors will pay money to Reliance, and this is where I say that investment banks do the job. They will create that hype and they will make sure that investors are seeing value in buying that bond for Reliance, right? Because of Reliance reputation, their growth projections, many other factors, right? So getting investors globally, and by the way, this bond was oversubscribed by 3 times, right? So Reliance ended up raising more than $11 billion from global market, a mega success that was from a bond perspective. So moving on, investment banks then make sure that their book running in terms of getting these debts and bonds raised to the investors, they maintain all of that. Bond duration such as 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, what should be the interest rate for these bonds? All of that coordination, all of that valuation is done by investment banks. So investment banks help companies raise debt from global markets, local markets, and everything in between. Let's now move to example number 3. So mergers and acquisitions, again, a very important topic. As you already know that LTI and Mindtree are being merged to make LTI Mindtree. Just for the context, in 2019, LTI acquired Mindtree. So that was just an acquisition. And till date, LTI and Mindtree were running as separate companies, right? But now LTI or L&T Group has decided to merge these two companies and create a single entity. That is called merging, right? And in this whole transaction, KPMG was the financial advisor, EY was the valuator. So these investment banks get included. The transaction value was $3.5 billion, right? So you see, wherever there is a lot of money involved, investment banks automatically enter into the scene and create value for these companies, right? So in this example, Mindtree decided and had these investment banks to make sure the valuation of Mindtree shareholders doesn't really go down. So for example, here it was decided that for every 100 shares of Mindtree, anybody who's holding Mindtree shares will get 73 shares of LTI Mindtree, which get listed as a new stock on the stock exchange, right? So again, investment banks are involved in making mergers and acquisition happen. Big deals, big sizes happen there, and that's where they earn their money through commissions, and that's why they are paying huge salaries. Let's move to the next segment of this video now. Let us now talk about the skills required for investment banking jobs, right? Number 1, they are not in any particular order, but number 1 is advanced Excel skills, right? So if you are in a back office job, you'd be doing financial modeling, for example, so you need to have advanced Excel skills. Number 2 is maths and numbers. Overall, in general, you should be liking numbers. Numbers should come really easy to you because all the time when you're in client meetings or when you're working in back office or even in the middle office, you're all the time dealing with numbers, right? So you should have some sort of affinity. You don't need to be a supercomputer, but you at least need to have some sort of affinity and liking towards number. You should get numbers very easily in your mind, okay? Third is the business acumen, right? This is where you must make sure that you understand how the businesses are run. Business knowledge is very, very important for any type of job in investment banking, okay? Number 4 is the industry knowledge. More and more investment banks have now aligned themselves into the industry specific sector. Their teams also are specific to their industry. What is happening in technology? If there is an IPO going in insurance sector, then you will have a different team working on it because they understand that insurance sector. So make sure you understand the domain and the industry knowledge when it comes to investment banking. And finally, I can't enough stress, any industry you go, great communication skills are always required. So please make sure you are improving your communication skills on a daily basis, right? Let's move to the next segment of this video now. Before we wrap up this video, let me give you 2 bonus tips. Number 1 is variable pay. In investment banking, the real money is in variable pay. Okay, so make sure when you're negotiating your salary, you are asking for higher variable pay. And if you meet your targets, you you are going to earn a lot of money in investment banking. Okay, the second one is client logos. In investment banking sector, or for that matter any sector, what really matters is working and getting good client logos on your CV. That will increase your worth, that will skyrocket your career growth. I hope you like these bonus points, and I hope you like this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to this YouTube channel for more finance and career related videos. I will see you later. Signing off.